So here's where most experts get it painfully wrong. They assume people make buying decisions based on logical assessment of expertise. So the research tells us something completely different. Buying decisions happen in the emotional centers of the brain first, where logic coming in later to just justify the decision that we've already made emotionally. So when you're solely focused on demonstrating the expertise, the facts, the figures, the credentials, excuse me, you're speaking to the wrong part of your audience's brain. Welcome to Creating Powerful Impact. I'm Shay Wheat, founder of Grace and Ease Productions, where we lock arms with people doing good work and we help them do more of it. Today, we are talking about something I see happening with coaches and consultants every single day. It's something that's quietly draining your bank account while you're busy building your expert status. So here's the truth bomb that I'm dropping today. Your expertise, that thing you've spent years developing, might actually be the silent killer of your event ROI. I know that sounds counterintuitive. I mean, after all, aren't we told that becoming the go-to expert is the path to your success? That if you just establish enough authority, clients will just naturally flock to your events and your programs. But what if I told you that some of the most respected experts in their fields are hosting beautifully executed events that generate almost zero return on investment? In this episode, I am going to break down what I call the authority illusion, the dangerous belief that expert status alone will drive event profitability. And I also want to show you the missing elements that actually transform expertise into revenue. So, if you are a coach, consultant, or thought leader who's built a solid reputation but isn't seeing the event ROI to match your expertise level, this episode was made specifically for you. So, let me tell you about a client. We are going to call her Sue in order to protect the innocent. Sue, she came to us after her hosting her third annual industry conference. And I mean, on paper, everything looked perfect. She had 250 attendees. She had multiple standing ovations, incredible guest speakers, a beautiful venue, and honestly, like some pretty flawless execution. But when we started to look at her numbers, the reality was pretty dang sobering. After expenses, she had made less than $10,000 in profit. And her conversion rate into her high ticket mastermind was just 2%. Now, Sue is what I call an authority victim. Someone who has fallen for the illusion that being recognized as an expert naturally translates into event profitability. So here's what really happens and is happening with experts like Sue. Number one is there's this credibility conversion disconnect. There's a massive difference between being respected and being profitable. Your audience can absolutely love your content, respect your expertise, and still never pull out their credit card. Why? Um, Mainly because expertise establishes your credibility, but it doesn't automatically create conversion. Those are really two completely different psychological triggers. The second piece is the if you build it fallacy. Many experts believe that if they create valuable content and deliver amazing presentations, sales will just naturally follow. But there's nothing natural about the buying process. It frankly is engineered. Think about it. Have you personally ever attended an incredible event, been blown away by the speaker, and then gone home without buying anything? Of course you have. Like we all have. That is the if you build it fallacy. The third one is the fatal assumption of logical decision making. So here's where most experts get it painfully wrong. They assume people make buying decisions based on logical assessment of expertise. So the research tells us something completely different. Buying decisions happen in the emotional centers of the brain first, where logic coming in later to just justify the decision that we've already made emotionally. So when you're solely focused on demonstrating the expertise, the facts, the figures, the credentials, excuse me, you're speaking to the wrong part of your audience's brain. And I see this pattern just repeating with really established experts making 6 and 7 figures in revenue. They've mastered the art of building the authority, but they're missing the science of the conversion. So, what's the alternative? You're probably asking yourself right now. It really starts with understanding what I call the authority to revenue bridge. It's this authority to revenue bridge that is the critical pathway that transforms respect into revenue. And here's the key insight. Building this bridge requires an entirely different skill set than building authority. So if I give you a quick case study that illustrates this, we worked with Dr. K. Dr. K is a widely respected health expert with best-selling book and like just a really devoted following of 100,000 plus people. His previous virtual summit had drawn in 1,500 attendees. Fantastic. But converted only 37 people into his $5,000 coaching program. So when we examined his event strategy, we discovered he was making a few critical mistakes. First, he was over delivering on expertise. I love this. It happens so often when we are building or run a show, when we're crafting a journey. I am more often than not pulling content out because I'll get to it in a second. But really, Dr. K was just giving away so much detail, and there was great actionable content that the audience and the attendees, they literally just felt satisfied. They were left thinking, cool, I got everything I need. Versus what we wanted them to be experiencing was, I need more help implementing this. I understand what it is that you're teaching me. I get the overall picture. You've given me a couple of key pieces. However, I need your support in implementing this. So we really helped him restructure his content to create strategic knowledge gaps. And this is like places where he provided tremendous value while clearly illustrating the need for deeper implementation support. So that's the first piece. The second piece is he lacked emotional investment engineering. So while the attendees respected his knowledge, they weren't really emotionally invested in his transformation process. So in that case, we ended up introducing what we call future identity projection. And this is a specific way of helping attendees emotionally experience the gap between where they are and where they could be with the proper support. The third thing was his offer was disconnected from the event experience. So and this comes into why we reverse engineer everything. But the coaching program he offered at the end felt more like an afterthought rather than a natural next step in the transformational journey that we are beginning at the event. This is the introduction into the space of us potentially working together and figuring out if we're a good fit to be in each other's space for the next 6 months, year long, however long your program is. And so when you end up having this disconnect, people are like, I don't know, I don't quite get it, it doesn't fit, it doesn't seem right. So we ended up restructuring his event to serve as the next step, that this program was the next first step in that coherent transformational journey, with his coaching program positioned as that next step and being the essential piece of that next step and that next phase. And when we implemented these three pieces, it's crazy how the results were quite dramatic. At his next virtual summit, we roughly had the same number of attendees. However, he ended up converting about 3 times more people into the program. And the fascinating piece to me is he didn't become any more of an expert in between the two events. His authority level remained consistent. The piece that changed was his understanding of how to bridge the authority to the revenue. And that's the piece that we want to make sure that we're looking at. So for yourself, how do you go about building this bridge? So I want to make sure that if you've got a pen and paper, you'll probably want to start writing this down. The framework that we use for our clients at Grace and Ease Productions is what we call the Event Profit Catalyst. Event, EVENT Profit Catalyst, where each letter stands for a critical element that transforms expertise into event ROI. Okay, so let's start with the E. The emotional resonance before logical proof. Emotional resonance before logical proof. We want the resonance to be there emotionally before we show them the logical proof. So the science here is really super clear. Emotional connection precedes logical decision making, right? Unfortunately, most experts structure their events to establish the logic proof first. So instead, design your event to create emotional resonance in the first 7% of your time with the attendees. Like the first initial engagements is what we're looking at. So this means, you're going to be opening with stories that really create that emotional mirroring. You're going to be establishing some felt recognition, that sense that you truly understand their specific struggles, you see them, you get them, and creating that sensory rich descriptions of the future state for them to be in, right? Where is that desired future state? So really, it's only after really establishing this emotional foundation should you then introduce your expertise and your credentials and all of those pieces. So uh, one of our other clients, Bob, he's a financial consultant who was always opening his events with like these super impressive credentials and client results and all of those pieces. They're needed. I'm just moving things around. So when we restructured his opening to begin with a story of when he actually hit his own financial rock bottom and how it led him to discover the systems he now teaches, his conversion rate jumped from 8% to 22% on just that simple change. And you see how we want to connect with them emotionally. And again, goes back to that whole, then we can show them the logical side. So that's the E. The V is value calibration. This one, I would say, is perhaps the most counterintuitive element. Most experts try to deliver like as much value as possible during their events. But there's just a critical difference between delivering value and calibrating value. So, what that means is value calibration is strategically demonstrating a couple of things. The number one, the value of the transformation that you offer. Number two, the value of your unique approach to that transformation. And number three, the gap between what can be accomplished alone versus with your guidance, right? Like they can totally go out and do it on their own, but you've most likely already done it. You've already hit the bumps and the bruises and all of those pieces. It's going to be quicker and faster and running into less problems if they do it with your guidance, right? So we need to showcase that gap. And so what this really does is it creates what psychologists call proportional value recognition. Frankly, it's just where your audience uh, accurately perceives the monetary value of your solution relative to their problem, is really what we're saying. So that's the V part. The next E is experience design for decision facilitation. So your event isn't just a container for information, it's literally a carefully orchestrated experience designed to facilitate optimal decision making, if you really look at it. And this means intentionally creating moments of inspiration, which are, of course, your aha experiences. You're creating moments of possibility. So you're expanding their future vision. You're creating moments of constraint recognition. So bringing awareness to the limitations. And you're also creating moments of solution clarity, allowing them to see the path forward. So these psychological triggers must be sequenced correctly throughout your event to create the optimal decision pathway. The next one is N, narrative threading. And this is where your expertise actually becomes valuable for conversion. Not, but it's not in the way most experts think. Narrative threading means you're weaving your expertise into a compelling story structure that really positions your paid offer as the natural resolution to the challenges that you've presented, right? The challenges that they're going through, that gap that we've created, your offer sits and fills that gap and creates that bridge, right? So your expertise should really serve the narrative and not dominate it. The most effective ratio that we've found is about 70% story application and about 30% expert teaching. So it's a 70-30 kind of split, and that tends to work really well on that piece. And then the last piece is T, your tiered conversion architecture. So finally, your event needs just a strategically designed conversion architecture that creates multiple pathways to working with you, is really what we're trying to say here. This includes, super clear next steps for different attendee segments. Depending on who they are and what they're doing, we need to go, okay, this is you, this is where you go, right? The psychologically optimized offer timing. One part of that is actually making sure you make the offer, because I've seen that happen too. But where do we place it so it makes sense and it gives you time to still support them and move them forward and answer their questions and their objections and continue to give them value and that whole flow and arc of the run a show. It needs to include multiple entry points at different investment levels, right? So we get to take a look at different price points and how we're supporting the different types of attendee segments. And then you have the scarcity elements that actually enhance the value perception rather than creating pressure. So when you have all 5 of these event elements properly aligned, your expertise really becomes a powerful asset for conversion rather than a potential liability, which is what we don't want happening, right? So I'm all about, the application. How do we put that into practice? So how we look at it is there are 3 really kind of immediate action steps that you can start taking to bridge the gap between your authority and the event ROI. So my suggestion is step number 1 is to really conduct an authority to revenue audit. Right? It's honestly taking a hard look at your most recent event and score yourself on each of the 5 event elements on a scale of 1 to 10. And be brutally honest, right? Most experts are going to score high on the expertise delivery piece, but probably much lower on the elements like emotional resonance and the value calibration. This audit is what's going to reveal your specific conversion blind spots. Great. Now we know. Step 2 is restructuring your event opening. Regardless of your event type, whether it's a webinar, it's a workshop, it's a retreat, it's a conference, it's a 3-day sales and enrollment event, you want to be designing your opening. Now, of course, every event is a bit of an accordion. So if you're having, an hour-long event versus a 3-day long event, you want to look at the accordion effect. But in general, you want to take a look at what is the first 15 minutes or so look like and prioritize that emotional resonance piece over just the expertise demonstration, right? That simple single shift can really dramatically increase your audience receptivity to your offer later on. And then I would say the third step is to really create your value calibration map. So before your next event, create a value calibration map, which is, just a strategic document that outlines a couple of things. You're going to have the specific transformation value that you're offering. You're going to take a look at mapping out the unique elements of your approach that honestly can't be found elsewhere. What makes you different? What makes you different from this coach to the other coach or this business leader from somebody else? You're going to want to take a look at the limitation points where self-implementation typically fails. And then you're going to want to look at the accelerators that your paid offer provides. Okay, so this map really becomes your guide for strategically demonstrating the value throughout your event. And then if I can give you another kind of bonus tip, it would be stop thinking of yourself as an expert who occasionally sales and start thinking of yourself as a transformation facilitator who uses expertise as one of the many tools to create change. I feel that that mental shift alone can really transform how you approach your events. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, and I want to acknowledge something important. Bridging the gap between your authority and your revenue isn't just about making more money. It's really about expanding your impact. And when your events convert effectively, more people receive your full transformation. Your expertise reaches the people who need it the most. And it's not just those who attend your events, but it's those who take the next steps to work with you more deeply. So this is what I mean by creating powerful impact. Designing experiences that not only showcase your value, but actually deliver it in a way that naturally leads to the next step in the transformational journey. So, if you are ready to transform your event ROI without compromising your expertise or integrity, I've created a special resource for listeners of this episode. It is called the Authority to Revenue Bridge, right? Because that's what we want to do, is bridge that gap. And it is 5 scripts for event conversion without feeling salesy. What we've done in this guide, it really contains the exact language patterns that we use with our clients to create the emotional resonance, calibrate the value, and facilitate that natural conversion. So you can go ahead and download it for free at graceandeaseproductions.com/bridge. And if you are an established coach, consultant, or thought leader who is tired of hosting under converting events and you're ready for a done for you, done with you solution, I invite you to book a strategy session with our team. Now, during this 45-minute call, we are going to analyze your current event strategy, identify your specific conversion blind spots, and determine if our team at Grace and Ease Productions can help you bridge that gap between your authority and your revenue. Now, these strategy sessions are limited, and we're only accepting clients that we are absolutely confident we can help, and you can apply at eventsarepowerful.com. And lastly, I just want you to remember that your expertise is incredibly valuable, but only when it's structured to create both impact and income. Please stop falling into the authority illusion and really start building your authority to revenue bridge. I'm Shay Wheat, and this has been Creating Powerful Impact. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a fellow expert who might be struggling with event conversions, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Creating Powerful Impact podcast. If you are a successful coach, speaker, author, or thought leader who would like to be on this program, simply visit creatingpowerfulimpact.com/guest. If you are someone who got something out of this interview, would you please do me a favor and share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. Also, if you know somebody that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Creating Powerful Impact. I love seeing all of your posts and great guest selections. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they really mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more about us? Head on over to our website, graceandeaseproductions.com, or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Just look for Grace and Ease Productions on your favorite platform. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.